Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking into, well, a really detailed and very personal take on parental involvement.
Right, and how that perceived involvement links to a child's success down the line.
Exactly. Our sources today come from one particular speaker's observations shared on the Purple Eggs podcast. They really laid out the specific behaviors and, I guess, strategies they think make the difference for successful kids.
And it's fascinating because, as you said, this is all rooted in personal observation. Their lived experience watching kids, seeing patterns, not hard science.
Which they stress repeatedly.
Absolutely. So our job here is to unpack what they observed, what these sort of effective parenting strategies looked like through their eyes. We're not validating it as proven fact, more exploring the perspective.
Okay, let's do that. The source is very clear about that distinction, observation, not fact. But the observations themselves are pretty intense.
They really are.
So let's start with the school years. What's the absolute core idea the speaker puts forward about the parents of successful kids?
Well, it seems to boil down to two main things: visible enthusiasm and very active engagement.
Okay.
The speaker noticed this pattern they felt where children whose parents were genuinely, very enthusiastic and showed a lot of interest, plenty of interest was the phrase used, those kids tended to do really well.
And this wasn't just like asking about homework.
Oh, no, far from it. It was extremely proactive, very hands-on.
Proactive meaning actually being at the school, showing up. What did that look like?
Yeah, definitely showing up. The list was pretty long. It included parents who consistently go to the school building, attend teacher meetings, PTA meetings.
And not just attending, but being active participants.
Exactly. Not just signing the sheet, but being involved.
Yep.
And they also talked about parents enrolling kids in loads of extracurriculars. Art club, math club.
Science club, spelling bees.
A whole range. It seems the thinking was if there's a structured activity available, these highly involved parents were making sure their kids were in it.
That sounds like a massive time commitment. Just the logistics.
Huge. And the source even drilled down into specifics there, like focusing on sports activities as an example.
Right. I remember that detail. What was it?
Well, it highlighted the depth of this observation. The speaker really made a point about the difference between, say, just going to your child's game and what happens right after.
Okay.
They specifically mentioned parents who physically pick up their children after the games. They felt strongly that kids shouldn't have to walk home after a game.
That seems like a small thing maybe, picking them up versus them walking.
Maybe on the surface, but I think it becomes a symbol, right? A symbol of that visible commitment. It's not just about the child participating, but the parent being there for, well, every single step. Supporting, monitoring.
Ensuring the whole process is covered.
Precisely. That detail suggests an expectation of complete logistical backup. It turns simple transport into, like, another measure of how invested the parent is. They aren't delegating that last piece. They are physically present.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's shift to maybe the most provocative observation in this section. The impact this parental enthusiasm has on the school itself.
Ah, yes. The feedback loop idea.
The speaker suggests that this high level of parent visibility actually changes how the teachers and staff interact with the child.
That's the real standout nugget, isn't it? And it's quite a statement about, well, human dynamics in institutions. The speaker claimed that when faculty and teachers see a parent is really, really involved, just incredibly present.
And notice?
They notice. And that child, quote, stands out.
And the implication, or the conclusion drawn, is that this standing out leads to those teachers and faculty getting even more involved with that specific student.
Correct. The speaker's conclusion was that these families effectively get more out of the system.
Because they're more visible, more top of mind for attention or resources.
That was the assertion. Now, and this is critical, we absolutely have to include the source's own very, very careful disclaimer here.
Yes, this is so important for you listening. The source speaker was adamant this wasn't a knock on the teachers or the school.
Not at all. They repeated it several times, very strongly. This is not presented as fact. It's not saying teachers don't care about all kids. They insisted faculty are concerned for every child, involved parents or not.
So it's purely
The speaker's life experience and observance of how human interaction tends to work. That visible energy often draws more engagement. It wasn't meant as an indictment of professional ethics or care.
Got it. It's subtle distinction, but important. The takeaway from the source's perspective is, if you want maximum engagement from the system, maximum visibility to the system is the observed method. regardless of the baseline goodwill.
That seems to be the message.
Okay, so if the school years require that level of intense, visible commitment, the source says you need to start way, way earlier.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting, moving from school behavior to, well, intentional actions from conception.
Literally from conception.
Literally. The source mandates that parental education and involvement should kick off from the womb as soon as pregnancy is confirmed.
Wow, that completely shifts the timeline, doesn't it? Forget kindergarten readiness. This is prenatal programming.
It really changes the game. It implies immediate lifestyle adjustments, intentional choices right from the start.
So what specific things did the speakers suggest for this womb mandate?
There were three main ones highlighted. First, listening to classical music, described simply as good music.
Okay, standard enough advice sometimes.
Maybe, but the reasoning given was quite specific. Second, parents should read to the child in the room. And third, the mother should actively avoid things like horror movies.
Why avoid horror movies?
Because the children are like sponges, even then, taking everything in, absorbing the fear or negativity. That was the rationale provided.
Let's circle back to the classical music. You said the reasoning was specific, beyond just general enrichment.
Very specific, and frankly, quite unusual. The speaker asserted that classical music actually heals the organs in your body.
Heals the organs.
Yes. And they went even further, claiming that each specific string in string classical music, violin, cello, is designed to heal a particular organ.
Wow. Okay. Did they cite research for that?
They mentioned wanting to find research books to back it up, but didn't provide specific citations in the segment we analyzed. But the core idea, setting aside the specific healing claim, is that intentional, positive auditory input is seen as vital from day zero.
It's a really striking claim, almost bordering on, well, folk belief. But the underlying principle is clear. Treat the unborn child as an active participant who benefits from structured input.
Exactly, and that connects to the language point, too.
Right. The reading. Why read to the fetus?
The stated goal was to build familiarity. Get the child used to the sound of language, the cadence, the rhythm of how language flows, even before birth.
And this continues right after birth, no break.
Seamless transition. The source was really emphatic that you don't wait until the child is 5 or 6 for formal schooling to start the education.
So what's the instruction for newborns and infants regarding literacy?
Keep reading. Read to them immediately, constantly. The idea is that by the time they actually reach school age, they aren't just starting fresh. They're already familiar with words, maybe recognizing some visually understanding sentence structure, just immersed in language.
So teaching, in this view, starts at birth, if not before.
Essentially, yes. Don't wait.
Okay, so we've traced this idea of intense involvement from the womb through early literacy efforts into very visible, active participation in the school system. Where else does this philosophy extend?
It goes broader, into the child's social life and also into the family structure itself. It aims for a truly holistic scope.
Family structure.
How so? The source insists that even if the parents, the mother and father, aren't together as a couple anymore, they must practice co-parenting.
Which means?
Well, not just splitting schedules. It means both parents have to remain equally involved and, crucially, equally enthusiastic about the child's education and activities. No slackers allowed, essentially.
A united front, even if separated, positioned as vital for success.
Seen as non-negotiable in this framework, yes. A joint present effort.
Okay. And then there's the social aspect, the friends.
Sure.
This part seemed particularly intense.
Oh, definitely. It goes way beyond just, knowing the names of your kids' friends.
What level are we talking?
An extreme level of parental due diligence. The speaker stressed that parents need to know their children's friends' parents and know them well.
How well?
Not just casually meeting them. The suggestion was knowing them months, a year ahead of time, or 2 years ahead.
2 years ahead, before the kids are even close friends, potentially.
That's how it was phrased.
Yeah.
2 years of getting to know the parents before the children spend significant unsupervised time together.
That's a massive investment in vetting the child's social circle. Why such a focus there? What's the perceived risk or benefit?
Well, it seems to tie back to that sponge idea again. If the environment is paramount, then parental oversight has to extend to all major influences, including friends and their families.
So how does that play out practically? If my child wants to visit a friend?
The source laid out mechanics. First, the parent should always walk or drive the child there, no sending them off alone.
Okay. And once they arrive?
Then the parent makes a judgment call based on how well they already know that family, thanks to that advanced vetting.
Right.
So either the parent stays there the entire time, using it as an opportunity to get to know the other parents even better, or they can leave, but only if they already have a high degree of familiarity and trust with that family.
So the parent is essentially always supervising or vetting the social interaction, directly or indirectly.
That's the implication. Constant presence, constant observation, constant assessment of the environment.
It really paints a picture of total parental immersion.
That's a good way to put it. The ultimate conclusion from the source speaker was quite explicit on this.
Which was?
That parents should be involved in every aspect of their children's lives, full stop.
No separation between the child's world and the parent's oversight.
None suggested. It's presented as a philosophy of total, proactive, deeply enthusiastic involvement, all geared towards maximizing the child's potential for success, based purely on what this one individual observed over their life.
Right. So let's try and tie this all together for you listening.
Mhm.
What does this detailed personal account really boil down to?
Well, we've seen those three core pillars of involvement, as described by the source.
Okay, hold on.
Enthusiastic, highly visible engagement within the school system, being present, being active, making sure you and your child are noticed, starting the process incredibly early, education, positive inputs, even specific health practices like the classical music for organ healing. Starting that from conception, not waiting for school.
And pillar 3.
Extending that intense involvement into the child's social world, deep vetting of friends' families, mandatory co-parenting if applicable, constant oversight.
The source's overall aim seems pretty clear then.
Yes, it's not subtle. It's a strong encouragement drawn directly from their personal experiences, suggesting that maximum parental effort, maximum visibility, yields the best outcomes for children's success. Effort is positioned as the key variable.
So this personal account really frames involvement not as, attending the odd meeting or giving an occasional ride home.
No, it's depicted as a total, all-consuming, continuous effort. It spans the entire developmental period from prenatal onwards and covers every domain, academic, social, even arguably physiological, with the music claims.
Which leads us to the final thought for you to consider. If success is perceived to be proportional to this level of visible parental effort, and the demand articulated here is for involvement in every aspect of their children's lives, how does that reshape what we think of as successful parenting in terms of time, energy, resources, the sheer feasibility of it?
And perhaps what stands out most to you? Which requirement described in this very personal observation feels the most demanding or maybe the most surprising? Something to think about.
Indeed. Thank you for diving deep with us today.